Hi, I am Eric Marfo Amwa, an emergency nurse.
I'm Dr. Enima Ozu.
Hi, welcome to another AFM video. In this short video, we'll be discussing PPEs. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, PPEs again? I've heard all about it. My name is Dr. Joseph Boni, and we're going to go through some steps in PPEs to make sure that you're keeping yourself and your family safe and without having any gaps in the knowledge. This is a short video to educate you about PPE. So we're going to go through the following points. First, we'll be busting a few myths about the mask, focusing on the surgical mask, N95, FFP2 mask, airborne versus droplet spread, and aerosol generating procedures. We'll then go ahead to demonstrate how to check the seal for an N95 mask, and lastly, touch briefly on the extended use of PPEs, what is safe according to the WHO recommendations.
Okay, so let's get into it. What's all this fuss about surgical masks and N95 masks? Surely N95 they say is better, right? Well, that's where the question gets interesting. It's not so much as to what is better, but then what is appropriate. So to understand this, let's talk a little about what is an N95 mask.
N95 refers to the mask filtering performance greater than 95%. In other words, it filters greater than 95% of aerosols, including aerosols that carry nasty viruses attached to them. The aerosols it filters are very small, in the region of 0.5 micrometers in diameter. It uses the American-based system to quantify this, and this is the US NOISH N95. You may have heard the terms N95 equivalent, of which there are many masks available all around the world. But then the most common ones is the European-based grade of the FFP2, which is a mask with a filtering performance of 94% or greater. Essentially, FFP2 and N95 perform the same and filters the aerosols of the same sizes. Now let's come back to the original question. N95 or its equivalent versus a surgical mask. There are lots of confusion going around about the use, with many clinicians using N95 and some using surgical masks. This may be a good time to say that the use of mask alone is insufficient for the infection prevention. Whilst you can have your mask in place, you must also ensure that it should be done in adjunct with other infection prevention and control measures to be more effective. There are great resources available online. Just follow the links on the screen, and this can take you to wonderful videos about how to wear and take off the PPEs, the donning and doffing of a PPE. Now back to the fight between N95 and surgical masks. SARS-CoV-2, to the best of our knowledge, is transmitted by contact and droplet spread. The droplet spread means that the virus hangs about in large droplets in the air for only a few minutes and up to within a 2-meter radius before dropping to the floor and the surface due to gravity. This is different from airborne spread in a condition such as measles, in which the small particles float in the air for a long period of time, and that's what's called an airborne condition. So the small airborne particles need masks with small holes in the material to filter these particles out, hence the use of the N95 for airborne diseases. According to WHO, for large particles like SARS-CoV-2, the filtering capacity of a surgical mask is sufficient for most circumstances, unless in an aerosol generating procedure, also known as the AGP. And when an aerosol procedure is being performed, you would definitely need something higher than the surgical mask. The aerosol generating procedures are believed to generate small particles that may not be filtered by the surgical mask, and according to WHO, the following are considered as aerosol generating procedures. These include endotracheal intubation, non-invasive ventilation, tracheostomy, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, manual ventilations before intubation, and bronchoscopy. It is important to note that this is an evolving area of science, and there's still many controversies to clear up about it in literature. For aerosol generating procedures, an N95 or equivalent must be used. So, in the nutshell, surgical mask is for routine care of COVID-19 patients and N95 for aerosol generation procedures. This way, we conserve the precious resources of the N95 mask longer in this pandemic and make them available when they are truly needed. Checking the seal of an N95 mask. Okay, so let's get into seal checking for the N95 mask. It is not helpful to wear an N95 mask that does not seal well, because this will allow the aerosolized viral particles to get into the side of the mask and you can still get infected with COVID-19 or any other aerosol generating virus. In order for you to test the mask, there are two ways in which you can test the mask. Simple steps. The first one is the positive pressure seal check and a negative pressure seal check. First, correctly place the N95 on your face. Step 1. Cup the respirator or mask in your hand with the nose piece at your fingertips, allowing the headbands to hang freely below your hand. 2. Position the respirator under your chin with the nose piece up. Step 3. Pull the top strap over your head, resting it high at the back of your head. Pull the bottom strap over your head, positioning it around the neck below the ears. Step 4. Place the fingertips of both hands at the top of the metal piece, molding the nose piece using 2 fingers of each hand to shape it for your nose. Pinching the nose piece using one hand may result in less effective respirator performance. Next, check the seal. Step 5. Cover the front of the respirator with both hands, being careful not to disturb the position of the respirator. For the positive seal check, exhale sharply, building up positive pressure inside the respirator means there is no leakage. If there is leakage, adjust the position and the tension straps, retest the seal, repeat this step until the respirator is secured properly. For the negative seal check, inhale deeply. If no leakage, the negative pressure will make the respirator cling to your face. Leakage will result in loss of negative pressure in the respirator due to the air entering through the gaps in the seal. And that is a seal check done in a few easy steps.
Remember that the user seal check should be done every time you enter a hazardous environment and/or the use of a new N95 or equivalent mask. User seal checks are not a replacement for fit test, which is conducted by people trained in assessing the fit of a respirator, but seal checks can help in assuring a good seal prior to exposure. Extended use of PPEs.
So now there is an unprecedented global demand for PPE, with many developed countries running short of stock. And consequently, there has been a lot of talk about extending the use of PPE and N95 masks in particular. Use masks without removing for up to 6 hours when caring for a cohort of COVID-19 patients. The reuse of masks, gowns, or eye protection without appropriate decontamination, sterilization is strongly discouraged by the WHO. The methods for decontamination that have been suggested, and I urge you here to check out the AFM Rapid Review 3 PDF for a summary of the above evidence, have not been validated against SARS-CoV-2, but have been extrapolated from our knowledge of other viruses. The 3 major contenders for possible decontamination are hydrogen peroxide vapor, heat and humidity, and ultraviolet C light. It's important to note that if this will form part of your PPE reuse strategy, that the proper personal that is, trained in these techniques, and the proper equipment be employed. Standard operating procedures and quality control will be mandatory. For more information, please also see the WHO Rational Use of PPE Interim Guidance. Follow the link below.
Okay guys, that's a wrap from us. I, Eric Ano Amamafo,
Dr. Enima Ozu,
and Dr. Joseph Pony. These are a quick summary of the points that we've discussed in this video. The differences between airborne and respiratory droplet spread, when to use a surgical mask versus an N95 mask, how to check the seal of an N95 mask, and then the WHO recommendations for extended PPE use. Keep safe and join us again for another AFM video coming soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.